All right, hello. This is my third lecture in our discussion of the military industrial complex. We said that the foundation for the military industrial complex was established way back in 1820, 1850 with machine manufacturing of weapons. However, the military industrial complex did not form until World War One, right? And then I showed you a basic outline of the military industrial complex. Military, but even more important than military is intelligence agencies and ways of making money off of war. Law cap, private military security contractors, reconstruction contracts, monopolized, right? Uh, Resource control, like oil, monopolized, the military industry, and of course, federal government, specifically the executive branch of the federal government. If you control that, you control the major foreign policy elements, right? And you can start wars. And I showed you how they start wars with the Vietnam War and the Iraq Invasion War. Right? I gave you two real specific examples. Now, I didn't teach all the facts like I did in the formal lessons on this, right? I just gave you a summary. But I gave you enough information to show you exactly how it was done. All right. All right. So that's the key. Control the executive branch of the federal government. You control foreign policy. You can start wars, right? You can direct. You can control contracts. Who gets these contracts, right? And then I showed you the historical background behind the power elite and the military industrial complex, how all these guys are the ones who are starting our wars, right? And how they're profiting off of our wars. How it's bonesmen, common denominators, bonesmen, starting our wars, profiting through banking and their corporations and military industry and contracts like log cap and private military security contractors and reconstruction contracts. All right. So here I showed you exactly how they manufactured the Vietnam War. All right. I know people don't retain facts. They don't, retain information. It just bounces off their brain, right? Nothing retained. And I showed you how they did this. It's very similar. Both the Vietnam War and Iraq Invasion War were similar in that both used a congressional resolution as the basis of the war. Both used manipulative, euphemistic characterizing of the resolution to get a war. All right. I showed you how all this is like. You cannot say this is not is random. This is pattern. This is man-made. Same day, same day, same day, same day, same day, same day, same day. Come on. Don't tell me that's random. Especially when I knew these guys for like, 16, 17 months before they arrest these guys. They're tracking these guys. But they don't arrest them even after 9/11. All right. So again, I showed you how really the most important element is controlling the executive branch, because the legislative branch, they're taken for a ride, right? They're manipulated to sign off on a congressional resolution, and once they start the war, so once they get this resolution, this is a hot little ticket to war. They got carte blanche, ticket in their hand to wage a war. Congress is too stupid to know that they just gave that to the executive. So then they start a war. And once that war is going, don't tell me Congress can stop the war by controlling the purse strings. Bullshit. As soon as American boys are in harm's way, they're not going to leave American boys hanging out to dry. They're going to pass every damn military appropriations bill to support our boys. All right. And then I showed you, I just reviewed, well, who's starting these wars? It's the power elite are starting our wars. And I want you to keep in mind that historically, the USA is a super warmonger nation, not a peace-loving nation, as delusional, baseless people believe. USA is a huge warmonger nation, perhaps the most warmonger nation in recent history. We're constantly fighting wars. 2.77 wars every year of our damn existence. Right? And I say the people who do not honestly, right, look at our history and what we've done and what we continue to do, but believe, oh, USA peace loving, we just do good in the world, right? And they want to wave the flag and shout USA, USA, because that makes them feel good. Well, they're low level people on any scale of moral development. They're at the bottom. They're dregs, right? At the top, you have morals, values, principles, higher things, right? Above yourself, self sacrifice for what is right. You think people do that? Hell no. They're down here. Me feel good. Me no feel bad. Me avoid punishment. Stimulus response. Classical conditioning. Right? Baseline id. Impulse driven. And self. Ego, pride. Right? And I'd say Christians no less than anyone else. Right? Makes me sick. Right? I'm sure it makes God sick as well. All right. Now, what I want to do for the remainder is just elaborate a little bit upon these bonesmen, show you how connected these guys are. All right. I'm just going to run through this quick because I'm getting tired of harping on the power elite and military industrial complex. But we'll start here with George Herbert Walker, namesake for George Herbert Walker Bush. All right. So this is Bush number one's grandfather on his mother's side, his maternal grandfather, right? Father-in-law for Prescott Bush. He was president of W.A. Harriman Banking. That's Averell Harriman's bank, right? He was also director of Union Banking Corporation, which his son was also, Prescott Bush was also a director of Union Banking Corporation. Right? So they're connected with Averell Harriman. He's son of E.H. Harriman, the big railroad robber baron. Right? And he, in my opinion, is the linchpin of the power elite and the military industrial complex. Largely through his bank, Brown Brothers Harriman. Bonesman class in 1913 owned Brown Brothers Harriman Bank, which supported the rise of Hitler and the Nazi war machine, right? Owned Dresser Industries. Averell Harriman offered his assistance to be Assistant Secretary of State Far East, played an instrumental role in the Diem coup, and was acting Secretary of State during the lead up to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, right? Which was manufactured by the LBJ administration. Specifically, a key player was McGeorge Bundy down here. He wrote the 30-day plan that set up the whole incident. I taught you that. I don't know if you remember any of that, right? All right. What else? Harriman was running U.S. operations in Vietnam without consulting JFK or RFK. All right, he was a key guy in setting up the whole Gulf of Tonkin thing from the Vietnam aspect. Brown Brothers Harriman, okay. Prescott Bush, Averill Harriman, these are partners, right? Roland Harriman, Robert A. Lovett, Percy Rockefeller, Granger. Uh, I'm not going to go through all their names. These are partners in Brown Brothers Harriman Bank, right? BC. Okay, so Prescott Bush, Bonesman here, Bonesman here, Bonesman here, right? Son of Samuel Bush, who was director of War Industries Board's Small Arms Division, right? He was also Federal Reserve Bank, director of Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, vice president, partner of Brown Brothers Harriman Bank over here, right? Director of Union Banking Corporation, right? Both of these banks, Brown Brothers Harriman and Union Bank Corporation, supported Hitler and financed the Nazi war machine, right? Even after we went to war with Germany for 11 months, they maintained their German operations, supporting the Germans until FDR shut them down. Both banks supported Hitler, Nazis, to October, November of 42. I thought it was November. Let's see here. Yeah, November. It's November. This is wrong. Okay. Director of Dresser Industries, which is owned by, which became Halliburton, or which came to own Halliburton, and Dresser Industries is owned by Brown Brothers Harriman Bank. When he was senator, he would play golf with President Eisenhower, and he's father of George H.W. Bush. All right. So George Herbert Walker Bush was director of the CIA. He was also an oil man, oil expert. All right. He worked for Dresser Industries, which came to own Halliburton, and it's owned by Brown Brothers Harriman Bank. And his administration cooked up the first Gulf War. All right. It wasn't so simple as Saddam Hussein out of the blue invading Kuwait. I mean, that's the way it hit the American public, but this was set up. I'm not going to go through all of it again. And then the first Gulf War became the primary motivation for bin Laden attacking us on 9/11. The outcome of the first Gulf War, including 567,000 Iraqi kids who died from the sanctions imposed after the Gulf War. All right, that's over half a million. And then oil price, which he blamed upon U.S. The Saudi royal family in cahoots with the U.S. But really, what it was is the first Gulf War drove down oil prices by busting OPEC, right? And then he's pissed off about Saudi debt and U.S. troops stationed in the Holy Land, right? For the purpose of controlling their oil. That's what he said. The only reason why they're here is to control our oil. He's all pissed off about it. Now, he didn't really understand things that well, right? But his motives were still based upon the outcomes of the first Gulf War. So that became the key cause for giving us the 9/11 attacks, right? And then his son, George W. Bush, little Georgie, right? His administration conducted the manipulation for the Iraq invasion war, the bait and switch. taking the attack by Al Qaeda and all the fear and terror generated and dumping that upon Iraq with a bullshit, hyped up fear campaign of WMD. Manufactured evidence, bullshit evidence. When the CIA and USA were obstructing efforts to find WMD between 1991 and 98 and playing all sorts of dirty games with WMD, which threatened to get those inspectors kicked out. It reminds me of the game they played with inspection of presidential palaces. That was like in late 2002, early 2003. Right? All right. And then through that manipulation, we got the Iraq invasion war. Right? HIJ. And the Iraq invasion war, went a long way to increasing the terrorist threat. It created ISIS. It was absolutely the cause of the formation of ISIS, our invasion of Iraq, and our screwed up policies, including all the torture and humiliation, de-Baathification, on and on and on, supporting the Shia militia, who's conducting all sorts of crazy torture. I'm going to skip this. So the big winner, big profiter was Halliburton. W.A. Harriman owned Dresser Industries, owned Halliburton, and KBR. Right, here's a little background. Brown Brothers Bank merged with W.A. Harriman's bank, formed Brown Brothers Harriman. Brown Brothers Bank was a big multinational corporation empire builder in the 19th century, conducting neocolonialism. Right, they merged with W.A. Harriman Bank, the largest private investment bank in the U.S. Right, which is key because they don't have to produce public reports where they have the money. Right, they don't have to disclose. They own Dresser Industries, owns Halliburton, and acquired Brown Root in '62. Vietnam War. Dresser acquired Kellogg in '87, and Dresser acquired Halliburton and formed Kellogg Brown Root, which is KBR. And I'll read you this. Dick Cheney was CEO of Halliburton, right? This is a quote from Charles M. Smith's book. He was the head of Army contracting for, outsourcing to private corporations, right? And he was fired for his complaints about the corruption going on. And here's just a quote from his book. When contracts are mishandled, U.S. strategic goals and servicemen's lives are put at risk, while private pockets are lined and millionaires are made. Billionaires are made with Halliburton. Billions of dollars. Huge contracts. The overall contract for all logistics by the all military. They controlled all logistics. All right. Dick Cheney, Secretary of Defense during the first Gulf War, dished out big, fat, no-bid contracts and cost-plus contracts to Halliburton. Then he's rewarded by being made CEO of Halliburton 95 to 2000. And he arranges Dresser Industries' acquisition of Halliburton. Then he's vice president for George W. Bush, right? Little Georgie. played a big role in manipulating the American public into Iraq invasion war. Kept blabbing that Iraq did 9/11. Kept blabbing weapons of mass destruction, which were bullshit. They manufactured lies to get us into that war. All right, here's more on Ruth Brown Corporation, the big moneymaker during the Vietnam War. All right, it was LBJ's, big financial supporter, big campaign contributor to LBJ, line LBJ's pockets, his coffers. All right, LBJ played poker with Truman and Harriman, so he's buddies with Harriman, right? Ties to Ruth Brown, right? They're and it's LBJ's gang that manipulated the public and Congress to get us into the Vietnam War. And the chief guy in the LBJ gang who designed this was McGeorge Bundy, writing the 30-day plan. Whole series of threat signals to jack up Vietnam so that they react once we start actual attacks on them. Right? Those attacks were covert black ops in Opland 34 Alpha. Right? Never made public and denied. In fact, North Vietnam, after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, they went to the United Nations and they complained about boat attacks and air attacks on their country that set up this whole thing. And it was denied by McNamara. He just flat out denied it all. With a clever lie. I'm not going to get into the details of it. But that's all he said. It was just deniability. Right? And who are Americans going to believe? The U.S. Secretary of Defense or the communist North Vietnamese? You know they're not going to believe the North Vietnamese. Bunch of damn commies. And they think McNamara's a good guy. All right. And so McGeorge Bundy's M.O. is brothers with William Bundy, who also played a role in manufacturing the Gulf of Tonkin incident, sending all sorts of threats to North Vietnam. We're going to invade your ass. We're going to attack countries to the north. That means North Vietnam. He's part of the LBJ gang. Vietnam War is an example of how the Cold War was made hot. Right? I mean, that's where all the hot wars were fought. In third world colonial nations. Right? They're about getting their colonial independence and decolonization. Right? All right, William Bundy was married to Dean Acheson's daughter. You see how connected they are? They intermarry, right? Dean Acheson was Secretary of State under Truman, and like Averell Harriman, he attended Groton Academy, then Yale. Like Robert Lovett, he was an architect of the Cold War. Harriman and Acheson were childhood friends. These guys grew up together, right? So Acheson's daughter is marrying William Bundy. Now they're bonesmen. All right. Harriman had an office in the White House. No, it says here actually 2 minutes walk from the White House, Oval Office. I don't know where the hell that's at. That's what I read. 2 minutes walk. Okay. RS. Then Henry Cabot Lodge Jr., right? Another connected guy. Major stockholder of United Fruit, right? United Fruit was a Dulles brother company. Allen Dulles was a huge stockholder of United Fruit, and John Foster Dulles, uh, his firm, Sullivan Cromwell, represented United Fruit and got all the concessions for United Fruit from dictators, right? That's how they got all their land. That's how they got all the concessions to control their damn economy of Guatemala, right? And don't forget, these are the guys that conducted the Guatemala coup. No conflict of interest there. All right. He's ambassador to Vietnam in the lead up to the Gulf of Tonkin crisis until he's replaced by General Maxwell Taylor, which is part of the threat campaign, the threat signals, right? Played a key role in greenlighting the Diem coup, which led to an escalation of the problems in Vietnam. He was grandson of Henry Cabot Lodge, who was a key Republican senator, instrumental in getting the U.S. into the Spanish-American War. And Henry Cabot Lodge pushed for imperialist expansion into Asia. And Henry Cabot Lodge and Teddy Roosevelt and Admiral Mahan were all buddies. Right? You see all the power connections here? Right? Then you got Allen Dulles. Allen Dulles was a lawyer for Harriman and Prescott Bush. He was a lawyer for Sullivan Cromwell. Although his brother was the sole managing partner, the senior partner in Sullivan Cromwell. And Sullivan Cromwell was a neo-colonial empire builder, right? Getting all these concession contracts, wrangling them from dictators for these multinational corporations like United Fruit, right? He wasn't the first director of the CIA. He was director of the CIA when they conducted the Bay of Pigs, Iran coup, Guatemala, all that crap. Right? You know, Bay of Pigs was right after JFK came into office. Right? And JFK was pretty much run over by Allen Dulles with this. And he lost all trust in Dulles after that. Now, John Foster Dulles was sole managing partner of Sullivan Cromwell law firm, the big neo-colonial empire builder, right? And two of their clients was Brown Brothers Harriman Bank and Prescott Bush's Union Banking Corporation, right? And United Fruit. All right. And what did Brown Brothers Harriman Bank do and Union Banking Corporation? Supported Hitler and the Nazi Party. Rebuilt the German war machine. Helped finance that. Which we ended up fighting. And their nephews to Robert Lansing. Robert Lansing was the architect of U.S. involvement in World War I. The key guy. I read the documents. I studied in World War I. He played a key role in getting USA into World War I. Like McGeorge Bundy, who got us into the Vietnam War, he was a chief architect who got us into got the USA into World War One. Crafted weapons and trade policy, right? Over 50% of Allied munitions were made not by the British or French, but by USA. And that finally led, after 2.5 years of that, right, pouring weapons into the hands of the Allies, killing German boys. Finally, after 2.5 years of this, they said, we're desperate. We gotta start attacking all those U.S. ships, bringing in weapons to kill our boys. Screw their claims of neutrality. That got us into the war. He was also involved in the Lusitania manipulation, right? So U.S. weapons manufacturers and the British were in cahoots, shipping weapons from the United States to Britain aboard passenger ships, including the Lusitania, which was carrying all sorts of weapons and war materials, right? And the Germans, you know, they're pissed at this. They're pissed at the U.S. and British using human shields to protect the weapon shipments. So they said, hey, listen, we're going to do something. Please warn the American public not to ride on the Lusitania. Right? And then it was Robert Lansing who wrote a clever, sneaky little diplomatic response, right? Which he said in his memoirs. He wrote for public consumption. He bragged about it. Read his memoirs. He's all proud about it, how clever he was. And then he leaks it to the press. Of course, it was written for public consumption. He wrote it and he leaked it. All right, so this gives you a better idea of how connected these guys are and how they're starting our damn wars. Now, I don't know how more to teach this to you to get you into the idea that these guys start our wars. I gave you 2 specific wars, right? I talked about other wars. So if you can't retain this, you know, which 99.99999% of people will retain nothing. I swear. Only a very small handful will retain information. And it's going to be fragmented, sketchy. A couple pieces here and there, that's it. Out of all the top, the vast majority may remember a couple things. And that then forms a reality. You know? And I'm like the little Dutch boy, trying to plug my fingers into holes in a dike when it's just flooding in like a sieve. It's all flooding out. Nothing sticks in human brains. Totally Sisyphean. Efforts in futility.